Hi, friends. Okay, so here we go. Home learning. Basically, my plan is to give you some current unit stuff, so that's factoring stuff. And then I also want to look at some some Regents review stuff to keep you working on old stuff. So let's get started. All right, so first question says to factor. So step one in factoring is always going to be looking for the GCF. You got it. All right, so greatest common factor. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the numbers. I've got 4, I've got 16, and I've got 24. For purposes of GCF, you can pretty much ignore the signs. It's very rare that you're going to pull out a negative GCF. So we're just going to focus on the numbers, 4, 16, 24. And the question I want to answer is, what is the biggest factor of 4, 16, and 24? In other words, what is the biggest number that goes into all three of those numbers? Well, in this case, it's not too hard to figure out. It's 4. So I'm going to write down 4. And remember that what we're going to have here is we're going to have an answer that has our GCF on the outside, and then we're going to have one set of parentheses with what's left over. Okay, so, all right, so we got 4. Now I look for variables, and I notice that I've got an X here, and so I'm going to check the other terms to make sure that they all have an X. Sure enough, they do. And so in order to determine which one is my greatest common factor, remember we're going to look for the smallest exponent. So remember that has an exponent of 1 right there. So my smallest exponent is 1. So x to the first is my greatest common factor. Okay, so now I just need to figure out what needs to go inside the parentheses. In order to determine what goes inside the parentheses, what you basically want to figure out is, what do I multiply 4x by in order to get this polynomial? So take it one piece at a time. So what do I multiply 4x by in order to get 4x squared? Well, that's just x. And then what do I multiply 4x by in order to get 16x? That's just 4. And then finally, what do I multiply 4x by in order to get 24x to the third? Well, I have to multiply 4 by 6 in order to get 24, and I have to multiply x squared by x in order to get, x squared in order to get x cubed. 4x times 6x squared gives me 24x cubed, and that would be it. There's your answer right there. And if you wanted to check it, you could always distribute this out if you wanted to, or you could just you could put. Remember what we talked about? If you have a graphing calculator, you could put this in y1, and you can put this in y2, and you can see if the tables match. That only works if you have one variable. If you've got more than one variable, which you'll probably see this week, that's not going to work. But for one variable, it works. All right, on to number 2. So factor again. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check for a greatest common factor. Well, right away I see that there isn't a number in front of x squared, which really means the number in front of x squared is 1. And when one of your terms has a constant of 1, well, there's no way to get there's nothing bigger than 1 that goes into 1. So basically I don't have a greatest common factor in terms of the numbers. This has an x, this has an x, this doesn't have an x. So I have no variables in common either. So there's no greatest common factor here aside from 1, and that's not interesting. So what I do notice is I've got a trinomial here. I've got 3 terms. It goes x squared, x, and then no x. This is a trinomial. This is one of these deals where we got to factor this guy this way. And this is where we left off when we were last day we were in school. So x times x gives me x squared. And then remember, we're asking ourselves the question, what multiplies to 60 and adds to, let me use different notation here. What multiplies to 60 and adds to negative 19? So you can use a calculator to help figure that out. Remember, I talked about focus on what multiplies to 60. There's not that many numbers that multiply to 60. So if I go over here, I've got 60 and 1. Don't ever forget about that one. I've got 30 and 2. I've got 15 and 4. I've got 12 and 5. And I've got 10 and 6. Those are all the numbers that multiply to give me 60. Which ones add to negative 19? Well, in the positives, none of them add to negative 19. But if I made them both negative, then now they still multiply to a positive. And now look right here, 15 and negative 4. That adds to negative 19. So that means that one of my numbers is minus 15 and one of my numbers is negative 4. And there is my final answer. And if you wanted to, you could check that by you could do double distribution. We talked about doing that before. So you could do x times negative 4, negative 15 times x, negative 15 times negative 4, combine your like terms, and you should end up back at the original. That's a possibility. Or, again, this has one variable, so you could put this in y1 and this in y2 and see if the tables match. All right, moving on. Which table represents a function? Okay, so this is review. Keyword here is function, okay? Remember that a function is for every input, there can be exactly one output. So let's look at our choices here. In choice number 1, I noticed that 2, the input 2, has 2 different outputs. It has negative 3 and it has 1. So that's not a function. In the second one, negative 3 has 2 different outputs. It has 0 and it has 2. So that's not a function. In the third one, I see the input 1 has 4 different outputs. Definitely not a function. And in the last one, I noticed that there are no repeating x values. So each x value here only has one output. That is the definition of a function. And so there's our correct answer, number 4. All right, I hope this was helpful, and we'll see you tomorrow for the next one.